Okay guys, so I just took out the art box from the shipper. It was very well protected as we're used to by Prime 1, being that they use styrofoam corners, they use cover plates for the front, the sides, the bottom, the top. So it's very well protected. The cardboard itself is of good quality as well, it's rather thick. And then the art box itself is what we are used to in the New 52 line, being a simple black and white design. In the center they always put the logo, so for Superman DS, the Green Lantern, it was the Lantern logo. Dark Side, it was the Omega, and in this case it's the Cyborg logo, or the C with the gear inside. On the bottom we have of course Cyborg itself, as well as on the top with the mentioning that it's a New 52 statue. And while it is mentioned on the box, Sideshow.com, I do have to express this is not a Sideshow statue. It's a Prime 1 statue that they produce, they conceptualize it, they design it, everything you want. The thing is that they don't hold the license to it, so they're dependent on Sideshow when it comes to distribution, licensing and so on and so forth, which is why Sideshow is mentioned here on the box. Also important to note is that the box of Cyborg is significantly smaller compared to the other boxes. This one was about 60 centimeters to 65 centimeters to 50 centimeters, while for instance the shipper for Dark Side was about 1 meter to 60 centimeters to 50 centimeters. So it's a big difference, which for guys like me who don't have a special extra storage unit always comes in handy. So I'll give you a quick look inside of the shipper, how it was packed, and then we'll get to the unboxing itself. Okay guys, as promised, a quick look inside the shipper. So you can see that they use a bottom styrofoam plate, they use the styrofoam corners, and then each side has a styrofoam plate as well. And of course on the top there's also both the corners and the styrofoam plate. The cardboard itself, as I said, is rather thick, so it's very well protected. So top work from Prime 1 on that. So the first thing I noticed when taking out the styrofoam box was when looking at the manual that Prime 1, I know they've been doing this for a couple of their pieces now, is that they show where which piece has to go in the styrofoam box, making it a lot easier to repackage your statue if you ever plan on selling it, or either if you have to move and you have to rebox it. It makes things way easier. On the back side we have the instructions as to how to set everything up, and this seems to be a pretty straightforward piece when it comes to it. Again, the styrofoam box not too big, so that's nice, and we have 2 levels. So let's get to unpacking. So having opened up the styrofoam box, I can see that Prime 1 once again used their black silky-like polyester cloth to protect the pieces inside instead of the wrapping paper that's usually used, and it of course gives a far more interesting look, a far more luxurious look when opening up your piece, which of course adds to the experience. So let's get to it and let's get this statue put together. So when looking at this base, this is a typical New 52 base that we expect for the series, being that there is a big ring in the bottom with the logo of the character spread throughout the ring, and some sort of reference to the character in between the logos, in this case being some sort of a high-tech language that Cyborg might use. When looking at the rest of the base, we have a big slab of concrete, probably representing a street which has been broken up during the fight between Dark Side and the Justice League. There are several nice elements to the base, being for instance this wiring that runs over here with the copper ends, which also is similar to similar painting technique that was used in the Anti-Venom base, for those of you who have that piece at home. There's also this more rubber-like sort of wiring that goes through the base. So it has some nice details to it. Then the second part of the base, let me zoom out for you guys a bit, is this big slab of concrete. And there we go. As I said, it's a pretty big slab of concrete, which has like these several reinforcing rods in them. In total there are 5 of those, which you have to bring or which you have to place in yourself. There we go. And there is also one painted in over here, so that's a nice detail as well. The only thing, in my opinion, which could have been better is that Prime 1 did not do a color coding on them, and they're a bit of a pain to figure out as to which goes where. So that's something they might have done better, but that's only a minor remark. So putting this in, this goes in all the way in the back. And it has a pretty strong magnet, so that's fixed on there pretty well. Okay, so then secondly, let's see what we have to take out in the manual. Second part is one of these structural beams, which again has been cut off, and they have this sort of heat effect that they apply to it as if one of the Omega beams just went through it, and very nicely done as well over here. There we go, is this sort of cut that goes through it. Well, not completely through, but it's very well painted, so I have to say well done on that end. Other than that, there's not that much special to it. It's just this typical rusty iron look that they gave to it. And this one should go over here, I think. Let's see. Yep, and that's a nice fit. Could have been a bit stronger magnet, but it sticks in there pretty well. So it's nice that the cut is in the front as well. Of course it was designed that way, but it's a nice detail. Secondly, we have a second structural beam, this one being bent in, so it received a pretty strong blow. And then on the back side, this is pretty well done, so there's some sort of texturing effect to it. I don't know if it's very clear on the camera, but I have to say that gives a nice effect to it as well. And this one goes in the side. Let me just see if I can put it in there correctly. I think this might go to the back. Nope. So then the other way around. This in the front. Let's see what this does. Nope. Okay, so then, yeah, it's this way around. Okay, perfect. And you can see the texturing coming back in there. So looking at this base, it is not really super big. Still, it gives the effect of a lot is happening on the base itself. So it is a pretty busy base, which is nice, which fits in the theme. So having unboxed the base, we get to the main course, being of course Cyborg himself. I'm just having a first look at him now, and I have to say that the shading that they did is very impressive. So they use different types of gray throughout the body, but they didn't hold back on the shading, making him very, very realistic when it comes to the body parts. Of course, I still have to see the portraits. Also, the sculpt has a lot of detail in there, so they didn't hold back sculpt-wise. So I have to say kudos to the artist who designed this piece. It's very nicely done, very, very well done. So let's get him on there. Let me zoom in a bit. There we go. And let's get him on this base, shall we? So there's one peg on the sideways facing foot. He fits in there, and then this foot rests on the base, and there's a bit of a cutout. I'll show you guys in a second over here where the heel of the boot fits in. So he fits nice and snug, and he's pretty well attached for using only one peg. Also, the base or the body is well balanced, having weight on the 2 feet, so no risk of it tipping over in time. So let's get in there a bit better. As I said, when we look at, for instance, the foot over here, let me try and zoom in if we can see it. So they cut out a bit of the concrete there, where the heel fits in, so that's nicely done. And then the other foot, of course, lies or relies on the peg itself. So the next part we have after setting up the body is Jetpack, and keep in mind that this is actually the backwards facing part of the Jetpack, as the magnet with the insertion is on the other side. And it's nice to see that they gave a lot of attention to detail on the back side, which is somewhat to be expected, of course, at this price point. We have the same grayish colors that go throughout the Jetpack, the same grayish colors as the body, with the same vibrant reds to break up the grayish color scheme. There's a lot going on, a lot of bolts, wiring, ventilation shafts that are inside of the Jetpack. The only thing that I would have preferred is a bit more separation over here in the wiring. But it might just be me, it might just be a bit nitpicky, but I think that's one of the things that could have been done better. Other than that, I think it is very nicely designed, well crafted, so that's nice. So let's put this onto the body and then get to the switch outs. So the first switch out we have is the sonic cannon, which is something typical for Cyborg. Again, there went a lot of detail into this piece. We've got these ventilation shafts over here, there's some wiring over here, the vibrant reds, which are a returning theme somewhat throughout the piece. This is a top with this aiming visor, you could say, and then we have the conducting rods over here, same vibrant reds as well as over here. Feels very solid, so I wouldn't be surprised if this is a solid cast. But yeah, it's very nicely done. Although I have to be honest and say that I personally prefer the regular compared to the sonic cannon, being the hand cannon, which is a lot more simple in a way, as it's a lot smaller, but at the same time, let's try and get that into focus, but at the same time, the amount of detailing that went in here is extraordinary. It's really into the depth of the piece. It's very nicely done. We have the same vibrant red in the hand, of course, so I tried to add a second light to give you guys a bit of a better look of the detailing. We have this darkish gray for the hand, which then in the knuckles goes over into some sort of a lighter grayish color, the conductors being very light in gray, and then the arm itself being rather darkish. But it's very nicely done. There's a lot of detail in here, which is very difficult to pick up on camera or on video at least, so I might do some additional pictures afterwards, but it's very convincing. So having spoken about the switch outs of the arms, there's only left two heads to discuss. First head being the exclusive head, being Cyborg in his angry look. And as we know by now, Prime 1 uses their resin technique for skin textures and skin tones, and you can see that they improve in time when doing so, as it's very convincingly done, and especially the hair, for instance. I don't know if it's that clear. Let me try and get it on camera, but this is very, very, very nicely done. Gritting his teeth, lips are done pretty well, though I have to say that it's especially the skin texture. It's especially the skin texture that is done best of all. This head has a bit of a more modern look to him, a bit more of a free interpretation, you could say. And then we also have the neck guard that's in there. Let me try and get an image of that. So we also have the neck guard, which is on there. And as I said, it's a bit more of a modern look, because when we look at the calm head, that's this one, then we can see that it has more of the typical comic book version look of what we expect of Cyborg. Nicely done, same translucent resin, very convincing hair. Yeah, so it's very nice. So let me set them up for you guys. Then the second setup being the angry head and the hand cannon. I think this is a setup that I'll be using mainly in my own collection. There we go. So a bit more of detail on that hand cannon, that portrait. Let's go on this side. And I think while it's a bit simpler compared to the Sonic cannon, this might be what I'll be going with, I think. So yeah guys, that's it. That's my unboxing of Cyborg. I might do a review somewhere in the near future to provide you with some additional details on this piece. But this will be all for today. Thank you for watching, and remember to like, comment and subscribe. Bye bye.